In the dead of night, amidst the hum of crickets and the flutter of wings, there's one creature that buzzes around like a stealthy flying ninja with a twist. It glides from flower to flower like a hummingbird on caffeine, its wings an iridescent blur. But the Yam Hawkmoth isn't just another garden variety moth. No, this one has a unique defense mechanism tucked away in an unconventional spot. So if you think all moths are just dusty butterflies, think again. There's more to this little guy than meets the eye here in life, death, and taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on. If you'd like to donate, just visit patreon.com/ldtaxonomy or click on the donate button on our website.
And today we're talking about a bug with a very funny name, and more on that now.
Yams.
Yam Hawkmoth. Ham Hawkmoth.
Ham hocks and guitar strings.
Yam Hawkmoth is definitely a D&D character's name.
Or yeah, that's pretty good. Yam Hawkmoth. Brother Brickfist and Yam Hawkmoth.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I think of yams, I think of Things Fall Apart. I probably should have tried to think of some sort of nickname involving that, but I couldn't because I only remember one character's name from that story, and that's a Conquo, and it didn't really fit with anything.
I don't remember anything from Things Fall Apart. I don't think I read Things Fall Apart. I read All Quiet on the Western Front instead.
Man, that would have been better. I have a bone to pick with literature curriculums.
Things
but
Fall
that
Apart is not a war book?
No, it is a story of a prominent member of a tribal African community, and his reaction to white Christian missionaries coming and converting a good portion of his village. That's the story.
Oh, okay.
It has a very John Steinbeck kind of overall thread where, I mean, it's tough to read a John Steinbeck novel and not walk away from it with the phrase "things fell apart" in your head. So, that's I was like, there were some characters, and then things fell apart. Bad things happened, and now the story's over. That's this story as well. Anyway, we're not here to talk about things fall apart. We're here to talk about yams, specifically Yam Hawkmoths. They're also called sphinx moths, or just yam moths, which is just the patron
Yam moth.
the patron deity of yams.
What is it, a moth? Yam moth.
Yeah, it's a yam moth. We're gonna call it here Yam Bam and the Sonic Sphincter.
Okay.
Which I will elaborate more on later.
I'll elaborate, moron. Don't call me moron.
But it's called the Yam Moth, the Yam Hawkmoth, by the way, because the larvae tend to feed on the plant leaves of the yam.
That's nice of them to leave us the yam.
Yeah, they just eat the leaves.
Kill the plant, I'm assuming.
They eat the leaves, and then they leave us the yam.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So
That's a good part.
don't
tell
yuck my yam.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have a quiz or something?
Not yet.
Oh, you want to know what it's like called in science, I guess?
Yeah.
Oh, also happy Fat Bear Week.
Excuse me?
It's Fat Bear Week.
No, what? I refuse.
Do you not know what Fat Bear Week is?
Is that a kind of IPA?
No, but it sounds like it. Fat Bear Week is literally about fat bears. It's Alaska's Katmai National Park have a competition every year to see which of their bears is the fattest at this time of year when they're
captive bears.
No, it's in a national park, so they just like tracked bears.
Interesting.
And sadly, one of the contestants was killed this week.
That sounds like something that would happen if you had sent a bunch of people out there to go track wild bears to find which one is the biggest.
No, a bear killed a bear. It seems unfair that a bear would kill a bear when they're contestants. Seems like maybe if that bear that killed the other bear wins, there should be an asterisk by his victory. But I'm assuming the one that died was not the biggest, because it would not have died. Maybe.
Fat bears don't die as easily. I've seen the remnant.
I can't believe you've never heard. It's like the terrestrial shark week.
I also... Oh, I was like, I've also never heard of the terrestrial shark week. No, I don't know. Is there a whole like week on Discovery Channel just dedicated to Fat Bear Week?
I don't know. It's just a lot of articles and like posts and stuff like that.
And also, I have not watched Discovery Channel in like 10 years. So
neither have I.
It's Shark Week was a thing then, and if Fat Bear Week wasn't a thing then, I'm out of the loop. Do they still play Mythbusters? Because I like Mythbusters.
I don't think so. I think those people don't like each other.
Okay, yeah. Well, happy Fat Bear Week to everyone who that matters to.
To everyone who observes.
Not observant Fat Bear Wiccan. Fat Bear Wiccan.
Have you heard the joke? How dare you wish me a happy Honda Days? You know, in our house we celebrate Toyotathon.
No, I haven't.
I see that every Christmas. Let's talk about their domain. It's Eukaryota if you're into that kind of thing. But we know you know, love, and are
we are in that kind of thing.
Animalia. That's true. We're also in the Kingdom Animalia. We're in the phylum Chordata. The class is Insecta. The order is Lepidoptera. We've done this before.
Mm-hmm.
The family is, oh my gosh, Sphingidae.
Sphingidae?
I guess. Sphingidae. The genus is Theresa. I mean, Theratra. That's exactly how it's spelled.
Theratra. Theratra sounds good.
The species, Theritra nessus. That's the binomial name. Nessus.
Yeah, this is an easy one.
Discovered in 1773.
3 years before the birth of our nation.
Usually discovered by British people. I'm sure people that live right next to it knew about it already. But they didn't name it.
They didn't know it was...
named it like... They didn't name it with a binomial name, that's for sure.
They did, they probably named it Look a Moth.
Yeah.
And then the British are like, okay, well, we've decided that this is a specific kind of moth based on this criteria.
Because there's other moths.
So we've discovered it.
There's other way less interesting moths.
Yeah, so since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show, nitty-gritty nomenclature, the part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question. What is the translation for the binomial nomenclature? translated into English, Thoritra nessus. What does that mean? Does that mean A, bold night terror, B, devious winged reaper, C, large clicking guardian, or D, arboreal blade? Bold night terror, devious winged reaper, large clicking guardian, and arboreal blade.
Not blade.
All of which are also D&D names.
What's the night terror?
Bold night terror is A.
What's B?
Devious winged reaper.
I guess B. Final answer.
That is correct. Good job.
None of them were speaking to me.
Surprised you chose the right answer then. That one was kind of hard. Itra is usually a suffix about flight or winged things. Thoria is has to do with harvesting or reaping. And then Nessus is a figure in Greek mythology. It's a centaur that tried to steal Hercules' wife, but then managed to trick him, and so is associated with being deceitful or devious. Yeah. So devious winged reaper. That's what that means.
Well, it doesn't look very devious. It does look like a blade, though. I can see why you'd say that. Sometimes when you say one of them, I'm like, I can see why
I would come up with it.
No, I can see why Drew Drury, the British collector and natural history specimen collector, would have looked at that and called it that. And then I'm like, wait a minute. That also means that Carlos could have looked at that and called it that.
I'm starting to think like a taxonomist. I'm so proud of myself. Hey, it's on a tree and it looks like a sword. Let's call it arboreal blade.
Yeah. Arboreal blade sounds like a weapon in a Souls game.
From the Avatar people, the Navi.
Now would you like to know what it looks like?
Mm-hmm.
Its head and thorax are olive green with a rusty tinge. Rusty can also be called ferruginous. Ferruginous? Interesting.
That is just a really snarky way to say rusty.
Is there maybe...
Because ferrous is like iron. Is the like Latin for iron. So it's iron-like.
Ferruginous literally means, containing iron oxides or rust.
Yeah, so...
There is a gray lateral stripe running from the palpus, that's the mouth, to the end of the thorax. The abdomen features a green stripe down the center and golden yellow sides, and an olive brown. Now there's a combination, because olive, I think, green.
But there's olive black.
There's probably someone named that. I get like it's a brown with a tinge that not a color you paint your house.
Olive brown. I don't think you paint your house olive green either.
It has a black dot at the end of the cell. It has like black dots on like the end in the middle of each wing. Very small black dots. It's also fuzzy, like a moth should be, morally speaking. And it's got two big, dark-colored eyes. And also it has labial palps, which are apparently The mouth. I looked this up and it said like the mouth parts of a mollusk, labial palps. But it's the second segment. I don't know what the labial palps are on the moth. I know what it is on a snail, but on a moth I don't know. Mouth forms lobes and scallops. What the heck is it on a moth? Yeah, I guess it. Yeah, it's like mouth parts, fuzzy mouth parts when they're on a moth, not when they're on a mollusk.
I feel like you need to come up with a different word for it if it's going to be that different.
It's more triangular compared to the other Theritra species. So if you are looking, if someone gifts you a Theritra moth, you have to look it in the mouth to tell which one it is.
If someone gifts you a moth, you delete them from your phone book.
Why? Don't you want a fuzzy moth?
Because you've given me a large and uncomfortable insect.
What if it? How do you know the moth is uncomfortable?
It's making me uncomfortable, therefore it is uncomfortable.
Well, let's
just because the chair is uncomfortable doesn't mean the chair itself is feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah, but if I'm talking about
it's making me uncomfortable, so therefore it is an uncomfortable chair.
I would not consider a living thing uncomfortable unless it was itself uncomfortable.
I would consider a moth uncomfortable. Like you wouldn't consider
I would consider it disquieting. No, moths I don't have a problem with. You put fuzz on a bug and I'm all in.
I mean, it's not like oh, kill it immediately. But these things are pretty big. If one was in this room right now, this podcast would not be happening.
If one was in my room, I would still do the podcast.
See, I can't coexist with it. Take that bumper sticker off my car when it comes to having this moth in my habitation space.
If it landed on you, it would be like pleasant.
I would try to whisper it something in Cinderin so that it could go bring me something better, like a bird.
A giant bird?
Yeah.
If a giant bird was in here, this podcast would not be happening. Like if a giant predatory bird?
Yeah, but I mean, it would bring me a bird that could speak. So then, if in that case, the bird would be a part of the show.
But if the bird could speak but was not tame and proud, it might not want to be in the show.
This is getting
You can't just solve the podcast by asking the Eagles to come.
Can you take the show to Mount Doom for me, please?
Let's talk about Measure Up. Welcome to the Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send an audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering the words Measure Up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new Measure Up intro this week, but that means we get to hear from a moth, potentially. Carlos has to guess what it is. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. Oh my god!
I don't like it.
Again. Do you know? What
I like it less. Is it a moth?
Sort of.
Moth. Final answer.
A moth character.
Mothra.
No.
Grand Mon Mothma.
Here's another one.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, well.
Grand Moth Tarkin.
No, that is Mothim, the Pokemon.
Oh. It's it's terrible. So
fighting?
It's just terrible. Yeah, it's not a good Pokemon, so I don't even bother with it.
it's not a good Pokemon if it can't fight.
Yeah, Pokemon are only
Kind of
as useful as I can dogfight with them.
But you're only a good trainer if you love your Pokemon and you share a bond.
No, I only want the strongest ones. I need to make them fight to make them stronger so that I can be stronger. You don't understand. They need to gain XP.
You're delegating a lot of the work.
I cannot love them to higher levels. They have to kill things.
But Ash loves them to higher levels.
Yeah, but he also has
Actually, canonically, you do too when you play the games. They're like, look how high the levels. You've killed so many Rattatas. You must love your Pokemon.
No, they kill other Pokemon. They gain higher levels, and then I love them more.
That's it. So
that's
it's like,
how it works.
It's the opposite of Reformed theology.
Yes. Works, love, relationship,
love.
not love works. Yes.
Let's talk wingspans. Their wingspan ranges from 90 to 130 millimeters, or 5.1 inches.
That's too many inches. If one of those was on your wall, you have a bird on your wall.
You can't squish that either, because that's gross.
Yeah,
it's like whenever there's like a big gecko in the house, I'm not squishing a gecko. That's nasty.
Yeah, but geckos also eat things like.
And I can see its grimace while it dies. No way. Throw it outside.
Geckos are cute, too.
Yeah.
And they sell
Same
car
thing
insurance.
I wouldn't be able to see the grimace of a moth, but it would still be too big to.
You also might slap it with all your might and not kill it. It's that big. Like you can't even you don't even guarantee that it's not going to be just like wounded and angry after you're done.
No. A moth?
A 5-inch moth?
Well, there's no amount of anger.
Do the hang loose sign with your fingers, and that's the size of the moth.
But there's no amount of anger that would make a moth dangerous. Unless I ate it and it was poisonous.
Not dangerous, but uncomfortable.
I mean, there is if I slap it, it would be uncomfortable. That's for sure.
And then I'm going to go to sleep. It's going to crawl its wounded body into my mouth. No.
Too big. It's too big for that.
But the fact that it tried. It's the thought that counts.
So here we go. Is it A, 4 wingspans go into the height of a common household blender? Is it B, 1 toothpick? It goes into the wingspan of this moth.
A toothpick?
2 toothpicks.
Okay, go on to the next one. I'm not
B2.
picking that one.
Fine. If we're going to negotiate. Or is it C, 458 go into the wingspan of a 747?
I don't think it's that one. I think it's... What was a pole? A pole
Household blender?
Oh, I thought you said pole something. A household blender. You said 4 of them? A 20-inch blender. I'll go with that one. Final answer.
The correct answer is C. 458 go into the wingspan of a 747.
A 747 has a 210-foot wingspan?
I guess. Once you did this, I was like, that's way too much. Like, that's a huge blender. Really tall blender.
That's about 5 inches, right?
Yeah. So once there was a visual comparison, I'm like, oh, that's too many. I said 4.
Oh, yeah, it did seem like kind of tall, but like a 210 feet, 20 stories
wingspan
for a 747.
Yeah,
I mean, you looked it up.
195 to 211.
That is incredible.
Let's talk about their caterpillar's length. 11 centimeters, or 4.3 inches.
It's a big caterpillar, too. Goodness.
Mm-hmm. Is it A, the length of 1 chicken wing drumstick? B, what?
From what chicken? You could have a small chicken or a big chicken. The drumsticks.
The average
range, man.
Chicken wing When you get a basket of chicken wings, you're not getting a wide variety of wing sizes. It's pretty
low.
much
So
all
like the genetically homogenized chicken wings, like
homogenized.
Like for turkey legs, you can get a turkey leg that is the size of your head, or you can get one. Like if you have a Thanksgiving turkey, that turkey leg is a lot smaller. Range is
well, I
pretty
didn't
wide,
say
right?
turkey legs,
But I mean, it's foul. They can range. There's big ones and small ones. Anyway, continue. I know I have a general idea.
One chicken wing drumstick, 532. Caterpillars go into the height of a rural cell tower. Or C, 28 go into a blue tick healer dog.
528.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the length of a dog.
No, just 28. Sorry.
Oh.
5,032 go into the height of a cell tower.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the first thing. I think a drumstick's like 4 inches.
Final answer.
Yep.
That's correct.
Yes.
A rural cell tower is much taller than the ones in the city. Because they gotta I guess they gotta cover more ground.
Interesting. I would think the ones in the cities would have to be taller because they have more things that could be
in the way.
They can interfere. Yeah,
that's true. Maybe also like they don't care if it falls over, the wind knocks it down. It's not as bad.
Yeah, if a cell tower falls down in a rural area, but no one loses cell service because there was no one there, does it matter?
Does it really?
Did it fall?
Let's talk about some fast facts about the ham hawk. I mean the Yam Hawkmoth. These moths are commonly found in tropical and subtropical regions, particularly in Asia and Africa. The large caterpillars primarily feed on leaves, like you said, of the yam plants, hence the name Yam Hawkmoth. Adult moths feed on nectar from various flowers. You go from a leafy green diet to drinking all day. You really let yourself go.
Mm-hmm.
Yam hawk moths are known for their strong and fast flight. Strong flight. This is a strong flyer. That's essentially a piece of paper, but it's a strong flyer. Stronger than what? Other moths, maybe.
Because it can fly without being deterred by wind? If you're like a weak flyer, you're kind of fluttering around all over the place, right, and just a light breeze can send you in the wrong direction. A strong flyer, straight and true, like a hawk.
Yes. Stalwart, even. Stoic. A stoicist in flight. They are also nocturnal, which means they're active at night, as is a moth's style. Like other moths, they undergo complete metamorphosis, transitioning from egg to larva to pupa, and then finally to adult moth. And of course, in pupa form, it only knows one move: harden.
Harden, that's right.
But if you get it in larval form, it will still know scratch.
It'll still know tackle.
Or sting or whatever tackle.
Poison sting, that's right, yeah.
As adults, they play a crucial role in pollinating flowers while feeding on nectar. That's what happens when you drink nectar and are fuzzy.
You pick up some pollen.
Yeah.
Whether you want to or not.
That's all I got for that.
All right. Oh, man, I forgot to come up with a name for this major fact. We'll call it the Shrieking Shack. This major fact is called the Shrieking Shack.
Because it's so big.
Well, I guess you could call it the Love Shack.
I guess because it's so big.
No, never mind. So here's the major fact. The Yam Hawkmoth can produce an ultrasonic blast from its genitals to confuse and deter predators, particularly bats. There you go.
Good.
Love Shack, Shrieking Shack, it all fits now. So the main predator of...
Is it still Shaq like Shaquille O'Neal?
No, Love Shack is a song.
I know, but what's it got to do with the moth?
Because I don't know, a good euphemism for a love... Never mind.
I still like it because it's so big. So is Shaq. Shaq is so big.
Shacks are specifically small.
The house, not the man. The man is big.
If I'm saying that my Love Shack is shrieking,
and you spell it with a Q,
then I think you get what I'm laying down. Anyway, their main predators are bats. Bats don't hunt with their eyesight; they hunt with their ear sight. Mm-hmm. They use echolocation to send out sound signals, and then as they ricochet off of objects around them and make their way back into the specialized ear of the bat, they can pinpoint the location of whatever ricocheted off and kind of paint this sound-based picture of the world around them in the middle of the night. That is a really cool way of sensory navigation, and also a very exploitable thing, because essentially what these Yam Hawkmoths do is release a flashbang to their ear sight. They have this specialized organ near their abdomen, just above their reproductive organs, that emits this ultrasonic frequency in this quick burst. If that specifically only happens when a predator gets too close, and that completely throws off the whole echolocation process for the bat. Unable to paint a picture of what's going on around it, and also just makes it, well, uncomfortable. So it can escape a bat that is like on its way over. It's like a Protego spell. It's like a bat can be swooping in towards a hawkmoth, and then it just emits the sound, and the bat is just like bounces off of it. It just immediately flies away in mid dive. So they can do this in rapid short bursts. So then it's just like, again, like throwing flashbangs at bats. Like no idea what's going on. It's very disorienting, very uncomfortable. And there are some researchers that believe that these ultrasonic blasts are intended to mimic the frequencies of other bat species, which just makes things even worse. So it's like if you were on a hunt, you're like hunting a deer, and then this isn't gonna work and then the deer just starts yelling at you to clean your room like your mom. So like in your mom's voice, like what? I recognize that, but stop! Why are you so loud?
Really loudly, yeah.
Really loudly mimicking your mother, telling you to clean your room. That's what these hawk moths do to bats.
I mean, it sounds funny, but then if you really think about it, it's horrifying.
Yeah, that would be something that would prevent me from continuing my hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if I looked at the deer and it looked up at me and told me to clean my room. Screaming at me. Yeah, so it reduces its chances of being eaten by sonar guided hunters.
Missiles.
And yeah, so it's one of those things that popped up in the media, I think recently. I don't know, it was just a topical thing that came up on my like Nat Geo feed, where it was like, this moth like uses ultrasonic genital blasts to fend off bats. And I was like, okay, I'm reading this article, but not because I'm a weirdo. It's because I'm a podcaster.
Is it because like their mouths? Is it just an orifice to squeeze air through?
I don't know exactly how it works. It's a pretty under-researched animal.
Because everyone's afraid to look like a weirdo.
I don't want to pull apart its reproductive organs to find out how it blasts.
Got a blast.
Bat Blaster, that's another good one, like Math Blaster. That would have been a good nickname. I mean, it still is. I'm putting it in there.
And it doesn't include a word that has no ties to the actual animal, which is nice.
Why would you say something like that?
Because Shaq. With a K.
That wasn't one of my nicknames.
Oh, that's the name of the segment.
That was right. the Shrieking Shack.
It works if it's a Q. It works if it's a Q.
It works if I say Shrieking Shack and it's Shaquille Shrieking Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, because the moth is so big. Exactly right.
It is so big. And guess what? So is Shaq.
Exactly. You get it. All right.
That's all I got. Okay, so for you, that was the Yam Hawkmoth. For you out there in Podcastia, prep your sonic blaster, disorient your predators with your anatomy, and take back the night like the Yam Moth. You're in life, death, and taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
With your anatomy. Is that what Grey's Anatomy is about? I hope not.
There's a lot of shrieking in that show, if I recall correctly.